Action games are a very competitive genre these days. With companies like Platinum, From Software, and Rocksteady raising the bar all the time, a $60 release needs to be something special to stand out. Then along comes Knights of Azure, promising demons, saints, and an overall gothic tone, all wrapped up in an anime aesthetic. But does it have what it takes to be worth your time and money? Let's hop in and find out. Knights of Azure is a tale of a battle long ago between light and dark, the world filling with monsters in the aftermath, and a mysterious young woman with the power to end the cycle, blah blah blah. You've heard this all before. The backstory of this game is about as stock as it gets, but like with most anime-styled properties, the real engaging factor here is the interactions between all of the characters, specifically between the protagonist Arnis and her best friend Lilise. Their relationship felt very genuine to me, and because of that, when the world tried to tear them apart, it was a pretty motivating reason to keep fighting. That's not to say the MCs are the only ones worth your time. Every single person in your central base is more complex than they first appear, which is nice because from a glance they all appear to be typical stereotypes. Any good character has a secret or two though, and the writing is clever enough to leave small breadcrumbs of insight here and there to keep you engaged, especially if you take on all the side quests. Even your little demon companions all have personalities and dedicated cutscenes of their own, making them more than just allies in battle. It really is the destination and not the journey here, at least for me, so as long as you go in expecting that, you should be okay. As I said before, Knights of Azure is an action game at its heart, and by their very nature, action games need to tick a couple very particular boxes just to be considered decent. They should always be running at a smooth frame rate, with a constant 60 being the standard, which this game doesn't. They need smooth controls that feel responsive, intuitive, and easy to use, which isn't quite the case here. And they need a varied and interesting cast of foes that are not only visually distinct, but also feel fun to fight because each one requires a different strategy and approach, which this game falls tragically short of achieving. Compare this to something like Hyrule Warriors. In that game, you can easily lock on to whatever target you want to focus down, and then effortlessly start throwing and dodging attacks. Combos in that game are enjoyable because they feel quick and they feel powerful. You can dish out loads of damage and then switch targets in a flash, not to mention most of those moves can be interrupted at practically any time with a dodge, making defending yourself from the horde surrounding you easy. Not so here. Stiff is a word often used to describe game controls, but I think there's no better adjective for Knights of Azure. I found myself locked into certain animations during combat, and Arnis doesn't switch directions as well as it feels like she should, often leaving me missing my mark with no good means of following up. Fast-moving enemies and attacks are the bane of my existence in this game, and while you break into a sprint after a second or two of uninterrupted movement, there's no way to immediately enter that state. Plus, you can't do a quick recover from getting knocked down either, relieving you with a few moments of utter frustration as you watch your plans go awry. I simply do not feel like I'm always in control of this character. She just does what she wants sometimes, and nothing I try will change that. Not like I feel like it matters anyway. Measuring an enemy's strength in this game is a matter of guesswork all on its own. Sometimes enemies at level 3 will die in a few hits, while foes of the same type at one level lower will be significantly more resilient. In fact, most of the enemies in this game feel pretty immune to your assaults, leaving your companions to deal the lion's share of the damage. Nothing quite as frustrating as an action game where you feel like even when you're succeeding despite the controls, the AI is contributing more to your victory than you are. There is one case where this isn't true, though. Arnis gains the power very early on to activate a demon form in combat. While you have to charge up a meter to do it, this significantly boosts all of her stats and enhances her attacks to be much faster, much stronger, and much more farther reaching. There are even multiple forms to suit your particular playstyle. You have to take certain companions with you to use them, but I found that to be a small price to pay when for brief, beautiful bursts, this game actually became legitimately fun to play. You know, I may as well expand a bit on the friendly Fiends. Enemies will not only reward you with blue blood when you defeat them, this game's version of experience, but they'll also randomly drop several kinds of items. This can be currency, equipment, or even fetishes. No, not that kind. By sacrificing some of your precious blood to these idols, you can materialize them into a new companion, which can be summoned during your travels to help you in combat. You can have up to 4 companions summoned with you at any given time, and not all of them are direct fighters either, which gives them some much appreciated versatility. Some mainly focus on disrupting the enemy with traps or debuffs. Some of them can dig up extra items for you, even if they're often so far out of view that you completely miss the offering, and some of them primarily focus on keeping you and the other demons alive. Each one of them has their own HP bars and special attack meters as well, which can be easily managed with only 2 buttons in the middle of combat. Blue blood serves more purposes than just making friends happen, though. It's also used for leveling up Arnis herself and for purchasing powerful items from certain shops. You can also buy normal items from Simon back at the base for normal money, and when you start getting tired of the usual missions, Simon has you covered there too. He can give you little quests to complete during your travels, and because hunting happens at night, Arnis can also fill her daytime hours with activities like gardening and meditation. Not only do these give you nice little excerpts of her doing something other than murdering everything in sight, but they also give you skill points to spend on passive abilities like extended demon form time and better weapons. Lastly, we have the arena, where you can take on battle challenges with specific teams of companions. I swear to God, these things are all impossible to 3-star, every single one of them. But if you want to hone your skills or just get some easy currency, this is the place to go. What I think is so clever about all these features is that somehow they all find a way to come back to your central goal, and not just from a functional standpoint. Sometimes Lilise will ask for specific items at the front desk, which you'll easily find during your travels or quests. She's the one who insists that there's more to life than just fighting the darkness. The spirit in your sword that you feed blue blood to in order to level up looks like Lilise thanks to Arnis's affection for her. And in fact, interacting with this character improves your relationship with the real deal. If nothing else, this game knows how to get you really invested in the relationship between these two people, and considering that's the driving force throughout the entire game, that's a good sign. If only the presentation were as well polished. This game already grinds my gears because Gus decided to release it in an English territory without an English dub. That's poor form, guys, especially if you're gonna charge $60. Like I said at the beginning, everything in this game has a stylish, gothic anime look to it. It's got some very nice looking cel shading, especially on the character models, but the environments themselves? Oh dear. With the exception of your central hub, these areas are all boxed-off hallways with minimal set dressing. So while they look nice aesthetically, they come across as bland and lifeless anyway because they all follow the same basic shaping model. There's no creativity here in terms of scope or structure, and even verticality is a rarely explored concept, leaving all of these dungeons feeling disappointingly identical to one another in how you tackle them. So let's break that down. Knights of Azure is not fun to explore, barely enough to be interesting to look at, and while it has some interesting systems at work, they all feed into combat mechanics that are not much fun to play. The characters are strong, yes, but let's not forget why the interactive arts are special in the first place. To me, this game is just okay. It didn't set my world on fire, and the only reasons I want to go back to it are all thanks to the writing. And in today's market, I don't think that's nearly enough.